Hello everyone, my name is Ashley Mix and I'm your guide for today's virtual grocery store tour. We will be taking a stroll through Kroger in Dundee. Now Dundee isn't considered in Lenawee County, but it's close to Britain, so members of Community Action Agency have the store accessible. This Kroger location does accept Michigan WIC benefits as well. So as I said, my name is Ashley Mix and I'm a registered dietitian. I graduated from Eastern Michigan University's coordinated program, and I've been working for Community Action Agency for over a year now. I've had all different types of experiences working with clients and have studied a lot of nutrition information. I do want to make sure you know that I'm here to help you navigate the grocery store and know how to plan a healthy diet on a low income. I'm not here to sell you products. I'm here as an advocate for your health. My main goals for today are to make grocery shopping less intimidating for you and teach you how to plan a healthy diet while using your WIC benefits. I want to make sure you feel comfortable to ask me any questions as we go along today. Now, I would normally offer samples if we were in the store and I was giving this tour, but since this is virtual, we'll have to get a little creative. Some objectives for today's tour: I'm going to discuss MyPlate and dietary guidelines for Americans, or DGA. I'm going to explain ways to save money when buying fresh produce. I'm going to discuss pros and cons of fresh, frozen, and canned produce. I'll demonstrate how to read nutrition facts labels to locate fat, sodium, sugar, and dietary fiber content. I'll explain ways to reduce fat content of meat and sodium content of canned products, demonstrate how to read ingredients lists for certain nutrients, and explain how to get more of the main food groups into your day. Okay, so let's get to know everyone. I want to go around and have everyone introduce themselves and share one goal or reason why you're participating in the tour today. And then I'll answer any questions anyone may have before starting. And then I'm going to pass around a knowledge assessment pretest just to gauge where everyone is at in terms of general nutrition information and as it relates to the grocery store. So we'll take some time to do that real quickly. Okay, so before we really get into the tour, I want to start with some brief nutrition education basics. So as you can see, I have the Choose My Plate graphic here. My Plate is the current nutrition guideline published by the USDA Center for Nutrition Policy and Promotion. It's a food circle that depicts a place setting with a plate and glass divided into the 5 food groups. And it did replace the USDA's My Pyramid guide in 2011, so you may be familiar with My Pyramid. This is the most recent new graphic for that. And My Plate is a reminder to find your healthy eating style and maintain it for a lifetime. You know, everything you eat and drink matters, and the right mix can help you be healthier now and in the future. So the main core ideas of My Plate are to make half your plate fruits and vegetables, vary your vegetables, and focus on whole fruits. You want to make half your grains whole grains, move to low-fat or fat-free milk or yogurt, and you want to vary your protein routine. Okay, so more on the 5 food groups. For fruits, you want to aim for 2 cups a day, and you want to focus on whole fruits that are fresh, frozen, canned, or dried. For vegetables, we want to aim for 2.5 cups a day. And you want to choose a variety of colorful, fresh, frozen, and canned. Make sure to include dark green, red, and orange choices. For grains, we want to aim for 6 ounces a day. You want to make half your grains whole grains, and you want to find whole grain foods by reading the nutrition facts label and ingredients list, which we definitely will be going over in the tour today. And for dairy, we want to aim for 3 cups a day. And protein foods, aim for 5.5 ounces a day. You want to vary your protein foods. So you want to mix up your protein foods to include seafood, beans and peas, unsalted nuts and seeds, soy products, eggs, lean meats, and poultry. And the dairy, like I said, aim for 3 cups a day, but you do want to move to the low-fat or fat-free milk or yogurt. And we want to drink and eat less sodium, saturated fat, and added sugars. You want to limit sodium to 2,300 milligrams a day, saturated fat to 22 grams a day, and added sugars to 50 grams a day. Now, all of this information is based on a basic 2,000 calorie a day plan. They're general guidelines, but it is good information to know and base your eating pattern around. And I wanted to bring it to your attention before we start. Okay, some more brief nutrition information. The Dietary Guidelines for Americans, 2015 to 2020. They are 5 guidelines that encourage healthy eating patterns. They're updated every 5 years. They recognize that individuals will need to make shifts in their food and beverage choices to achieve a healthy pattern. What's important, though, is that a healthy eating pattern is not a rigid prescription. It's an adaptable framework in which individuals can enjoy foods that meet their personal, cultural, and traditional preferences and fit within their budget. And I will discuss these guidelines on the next slide. Okay, so the first one is to follow a healthy eating pattern across the lifespan. You want to choose a healthy eating pattern at an appropriate calorie level to help achieve and maintain a healthy body weight, you want to support nutrient adequacy, and reduce the risk of chronic disease. Number 2, focus on variety, nutrient density, and amount. Number 3, limit calories from added sugars and saturated fats and reduce sodium intake. You want to cut back on food and beverages higher in these components to amounts that fit within the healthy eating pattern. And number 4, shift to healthier food and beverage choices. And 5, you want to support healthy eating patterns for all. Everyone has a role in helping to create and support healthy eating patterns, whether that's home, school, work, communities. Your children look up to you as role models for healthy eating patterns. So this is all really good information to not only incorporate into your life, but to start ingraining into your child's life. All right, so let's begin our tour. We're going to start in the produce section. So including colorful fruit or vegetable at every meal is a super easy way to boost your intake that can have a huge impact on health. Now, some important tips for how to save money when buying produce. You want to buy produce that's in season. You want to stick to sturdy vegetables that are shelf stable. So some examples of these would be cabbage, sweet potatoes, celery, onions, carrots, potatoes, kale, collard greens, apples, and oranges. Not only do they cost less at the store, but they'll last longer once you get home, so you're less likely to find them wilted at the back of your fridge. You want to pay attention to the pricing method, and when you can't buy fresh, you can definitely buy frozen. You can see here I have this table of foods that are allowed with WIC and foods that are not allowed with WIC. So on WIC, you're allowed any variety of fresh fruit or vegetable without added sweetener or fat, and they may be whole, cut, bagged, or packaged. Not allowed on WIC is no organic fruits or vegetables, no pre-cut fruits or vegetables with added preservatives, no ornamental or decorative fruits like chili peppers or garlic on a string, gourds, or painted pumpkins, no salad kits, no herbs, spices, edible blossoms, or flowers, no fruit or vegetable party trays or platters, no fruits or vegetables from salad bars, no fruit or nut mixtures, or fruit baskets. So more on in-season produce. In-season produce is always going to cost less and will be at the peak of flavor. You do want to make sure you always wash your produce when you get home. All of these fruits and vegetables contain beneficial vitamins and minerals. I have some examples of the Kroger produce to the right here, the pricing. The vitamins and minerals they contain are vitamin A, which support eye health, vitamin C, which helps keep your immune system strong, vitamin K, which helps with your blood clotting, and there's other vitamins and minerals they have too. So some examples of some seasonal fall fruits and vegetables are apples, bananas, grapes, raspberries, bell peppers, Brussels sprouts, carrots, mushrooms, spinach, and sweet potatoes. All right, so some ways to consume more produce during the day. Some ideas are to add vegetables to your breakfast, so peppers, onions, or spinach to your eggs in the morning. And then another good tip is to plan your meals around the vegetables. So make vegetables the star of your dish, then add other proteins or foods to complement it. An example would be vegetable stir fry, soup, or lasagna. So here to the right, I have a citrus broccoli stir fry recipe. It's actually from Feeding America, super affordable and loaded with vegetables. You can just add a protein source of your choice. I think chicken would work great here. And for the vegetable omelet, I'm going to include the vegetable omelet recipe and the citrus broccoli stir fry recipe in your resource folder today. Some pros and cons of fresh produce. Pros are that ripe produce is extremely nutrient dense and it has the best taste of all forms of produce. Some cons are that they lose moisture and become susceptible to spoilage within days. Significant loss of nutrient value begins to occur after 48 hours. Storage and travel to store can cause nutrient loss, and they're more expensive than all other forms. Next up, the dairy section. So first we're going to talk about milk. So dairy provides calcium and vitamin D. Calcium helps build and maintain bones, and the vitamin D helps absorb calcium. Something to note, skim 1% or 2% milk all have the same amount of vitamin D, calcium, and protein as whole milk, but they just have less fat and fewer calories. So this is an easy switch you can make to reduce your overall fat intake during the day. Again, I have a table here of foods that are allowed on WIC and foods that are not allowed on WIC. Foods allowed on WIC include fat-free milk or skim, low-fat, 1 or 2%, or 0.5% or 1%, buttermilk, reduced fat milk, so 2%, if it's on your WIC shopping list, whole milk, powdered milk, evaporated milk, and even lactose-free milk. Some foods, the foods that are not allowed on WIC are no organic milk products, no chocolate or flavored milk, no evaporated filled milk, no nut or grain milk, no Guernsey brand, no value added like a Fairlife, no vitamin, no glass bottles, and no unhomogenized or ultra high temperature processed milk. Okay, so I have 2 different Kroger varieties of milk here, and I'm going to show you how to read the nutrition label to locate the fat amount. You can see here that the vitamin D whole milk has 8 grams of fat per 8-ounce serving and 5 grams of saturated fat. And then you'll see on the right, the Kroger 1% low-fat milk has 2.5 grams of total fat and 1.5 grams of saturated fat per 8-ounce serving. Again, like I said, another easy switch you can make to reduce your overall fat content in your day. Okay, so now I'll talk about yogurt. So some ways to reduce sugar amount is to look for varieties with lower sugar or add your own fruit on top of plain yogurt. And some ways to save money with yogurt is to choose lower priced options like the 32-ounce tubs, the 4-ounce 4-pack, or the 4-ounce 8-pack. In terms of the adding your own berries on top of the plain yogurt, it's a great way to not only reduce the amount of added sugars, but it helps us to follow the My Plate method of focusing on whole fruits. Here again, I have foods allowed with WIC, non-fat or low-fat only, plain or any flavor, and fruit on the bottom, all allowed. Foods not allowed, no organic, no whole milk yogurt, no yogurts with separate mix-in items like candy, granola, or nuts, no Greek yogurt, no yogurt with artificial sweeteners like aspartame, sucralose, or saccharin, no yogurt in bottles like the drinkable versions, tubes or pouches, and no Activia. Okay, so another comparison here of 2 different Kroger brands looking at the nutrition facts label for the sugar content. You can see on the left, the Kroger strawberry fruit on the bottom has 28 grams of sugar in 1 container. On the right, you can see the plain yogurt doesn't contain any sugar. However, this is where you could add your own berries. Always good to be able to locate these amounts on foods. Okay, next up, cheese. So we do want to make sure we keep cheese intake to a minimum as it contains higher amounts of saturated fat, but it definitely can make its way into a healthy eating pattern. Here's some two options of a Kroger Extra Sharp Cheddar or Kroger Swiss. Both of those are approved by WIC. Most varieties of cheese are allowed on WIC, however, no organic, no imported, no sliced except for American, no individually wrapped cheese slices, no cheese foods like Velveeta, no cheese products like Cheese Whiz or anything like that, no shredded, grated, cubed, crumble shapes or curds, no smoked or raw milk cheese, no variety wheels or variety packs, no cracker backers or stackers, no cheese with pimento, peppers, seeds, or meat, no soy, farmer, or goat cheese, and no fresh mozzarella. But you can get cheddar, Colby, Colby Jack, Monterey Jack, mozzarella, Munster, provolone, Swiss, and American or string, just not the singles. So some ways to get more dairy in the day. I know a lot of people can struggle with this. Have a glass of milk with breakfast. If you have oatmeal, use milk instead of water. Substitute plain yogurt in recipes that call for sour cream. Consider adding milk to your morning coffee. And if you are lactose intolerant, you can definitely try the lactose-free milk. I have a Kroger lactose-free 2% reduced fat milk over here. Still contains the protein, good amounts of calcium. Definitely still possible to get dairy into your day. All right, time to go to the meat department. Okay, so there's a few things I'd like to point out while we're here. Meats are a great source of protein, and proteins are involved in almost all our body processes, so metabolic, immune, and most importantly, it's an energy source. Meat is definitely part of a healthy eating pattern, but you want to keep heart health in the back of your mind. To do this, you want to buy sources that are low in saturated fat. Some examples of this would be lean or extra lean ground beef, so no more than 15% fat, poultry that hasn't been injected with fats or broths, cuts of meat that have the least amount of visible fat, so you want to buy choice or select grades of beef rather than prime. Some other helpful tips when cooking with meat to promote heart health: you want to trim the visible fat whenever possible, prepare meats in different methods like baking, broiling, roasting, microwaving, or stir frying, and pour off the fat after browning. Okay, so here I have some examples of how to locate lower fat meats. So the first one I have is the Kroger Fresh Ground Turkey 93% lean. So this means it only contains 7% fat. So here you wouldn't want to go any lower than the 85%, as this would be 15% fat. Here next I have the Beef Choice Sirloin Tip Steak. You can see there's hardly any visible fat on that cut of meat. And lastly, the Beef Choice Boneless Ribeye Steak. You can see quite a bit of marbling and a lot of visible fat, so you'd want to avoid getting these kinds when you can. All right, something smells fishy. We're in the seafood department. So seafood is a great source of protein, fiber, vitamins, and minerals. They also contain omega-3 fatty acids. Omega-3 fatty acids are polyunsaturated fats that can lower your triglyceride levels. And when you lower your triglyceride levels, you can lower your risk for cardiovascular disease. It's been shown to lower breast and colorectal cancer risk. Some studies have even shown that omega-3 consumption can lower risk of developing Alzheimer's. One of the best sources of omega-3 fatty acids is salmon, but canned or frozen is a more affordable option and provides the same nutrients. So here I have some comparisons between fresh, frozen, and canned salmon. For the fresh, it's $12.99 a pound, it's $10.53 for just 2 fillets, versus $11.99 for 32 ounces of a frozen package, which is about 5 4-ounce salmon fillets, And canned, we have the cheapest option here, $4.99. So while the frozen is the most expensive option here, you are getting more bang for your buck with the amount of fit salmon. And because it's frozen, it'll last longer, and you can make that last for, 2, maybe even 3 weeks, maybe 4 if you don't have it that often. But I like to point these out to you to make you aware of the other options. Okay, now let's head down the aisles. So the canned food section. So canned fish and beans are affordable sources of protein and fiber, and canned fruits and vegetables are affordable options compared to fresh produce. What's important here is that you want to look for lower sugar and lower sodium versions. So here I have 2 types of black beans. We have the Kroger black beans on the left and the Bush's reduced sodium black beans in the upper right. You can see that the Kroger black beans that aren't reduced sodium have 370 milligrams of sodium, and the Bush's best reduced sodium black beans have 210 milligrams of sodium. So the reduced sodium will always usually say reduced sodium on the front, but you do want to be able to locate these amounts when buying beans. So canned vegetables, like I said, affordable option. Important, same with the beans. You want to make sure to rinse and drain when you get home or when you're about to cook to reduce the sodium content, because you can see that just in this 14.5 ounce can of Kroger cut green beans, it has 290 milligrams of sodium, when normally fresh green beans aren't going to have hardly any sodium. So rinsing them is an important thing to do. Some pros and cons of canned vegetables. Pros are that they are cheaper than fresh, convenient, longer shelf life, and can be higher in nutrients since they are harvested in their peak of freshness. Some cons are that the flavor is not as good or fresh tasting. They have higher sodium content, and because they're in a can, you have exposure to the BPA and tin. BPA, if you didn't know, is bisphenol A. It's a chemical commonly found in aluminum and tin cans. It can be toxic even at low doses, and it has been known to be linked to cardiovascular disease, obesity, diabetes, breast cancer, and other cancers. But so far the FDA has banned the use of BPA in baby bottles and sippy cups. However, unfortunately right now it's still allowed in cans. Again, not trying to scare you, just trying to bring it to your attention for cons of canned foods. So for canned fish, another great protein option here. You want to look for the lower priced foods. Another good tip is to look for varieties in water and not oil, because this can reduce your overall fat intake during the day. The brands allowed on WIC, any brand of chunk light tuna in the 5 ounce can, bumblebee pink salmon in a 5 ounce can, or chicken of the sea pink salmon in a 5 ounce can. Not allowed on WIC, no organic, no albacore tuna, no low sodium tuna or salmon, no foil packages or pouches, no lunch packs or lunch kits, no chunk white tuna, no tuna with seasoning, and no prime or smoked salmon fillets. The bread rice aisle. So no organic breads are allowed with WIC. An important tip is to always look for whole grains. Fortunately, brown rice, oatmeal, whole wheat or corn tortillas, pasta, whole wheat or whole grain breads are only what is allowed with WIC, so this really helps here. Whole grains are so important because they keep you full longer and it doesn't cause a spike in blood sugar like refined flours would, or simple carbs, the white flours. Whole grains are packed with protein, fiber, B vitamins, antioxidants, and minerals. And you want to check the first ingredient in the list to see if there are whole grains. A lot of bread products have refined flours, and refined flours are more processed, and they have to have the vitamins added back in, which as a whole just isn't as nutrient dense as a whole grain product is going to have. I have this figure here, the graphic from the Michigan WIC foods list, and it lists those choices that I said are allowed. So for every 1 pound of whole grain listed on your shopping list, you can buy 1 loaf of bread, or 1 package of buns, or 1 package of tortillas, 1 package of pasta, 1 container of oatmeal, or 1 bag or box of a 14 to 16 ounce brown rice. So looking at the ingredients list on bread products, so looking at this 100% whole wheat Kroger loaf of bread, you can see right away that the first ingredient listed is whole wheat flour. So there's no enriched flour in this product. All good here. Okay, cereal aisle. So cereals are an affordable source of nutrients for you and your kids. All WIC approved cereals are a good source of iron. So the brands allowed are General Mills, Malto Meal, Post, Quaker, and store brands are approved. You want to look for cereals with lower amounts of sugar and higher grams of dietary fiber. Fiber helps with bowel movements and bowel health, lowers cholesterol levels, and helps control blood sugar levels. Here, another graphic from the Michigan WIC food list. The red figure icon, the cereals with this symbol provide 100% of the recommended dietary allowance for folic acid, which all cereals are fortified with folic acid now. The blue grain symbol means they are made with whole grains and are a good source of fiber. And the green with a line through it means the cereals are gluten-free. And a good tip is to choose the lower priced foods, and no organic cereals are allowed with WIC. So here I have two different WIC approved cereals, and we're comparing the dietary fiber. So here on the left I have the Honey Bunches of Oats honey roasted cereal, has 2 grams of dietary fiber. And on the right, I have the Chex wheat cereal, has 8 grams of dietary fiber. So whenever possible, always aim for that product that has the more fiber. It's going to keep you and your child more full throughout the day, and will help you not reach for those more processed foods and sugary foods later in the day. Brrr! We're in the frozen food section. So frozen foods, fruits and vegetables, are a great and affordable comparable option to fresh. Like canned, frozen vegetables are packaged at their peak of freshness. A good tip here is to think of frozen as a complement to fresh. So just like proteins, we suggest to vary your proteins, think of varying your vegetables. So combine both frozen and fresh, getting more variety of nutrients and also helping to lower the cost. And frozen foods in general, you're going to get more bang for your buck because frozen foods are typically sold in larger quantities than fresh foods are. Okay, so on the screen I have some comparisons of frozen and fresh. So here the first one between the spinach. It's a small difference, but these small differences can definitely add up. So I have the 10-ounce Kroger bag of tender fresh spinach is $1.99 for 10 ounces. And then compared to the Kroger chopped spinach, frozen chopped spinach for the 10 ounces is only $1.19. And here with the blueberries, you get 18 ounces of blueberries for about $5. And here for the private selection frozen blueberries, you're getting 48 ounces for about $9. So it's more, but you're getting almost triple as much for less than double the price of fresh. So like I said, frozen foods, more bang for your buck. Some pros and cons of frozen produce. Some pros, they're harvested at peak freshness, and so this allows for a higher nutrient density. They're flash frozen, which helps retain most nutrient value. Fruits aren't blanched before freezing, so this allows for very little nutrient value loss. They're generally less expensive than fresh, and there's less waste due to spoilage. Some cons of frozen produce are that vitamin B and C lost from blanching, some antioxidant content can be lost, and they may contain added sugars, sodium, fat, and preservatives. Some frozen fruit and vegetable recipe ideas. You can add frozen berries and spinach into a morning smoothie. You can saute frozen vegetables in a low-sodium broth with some spices and a protein source for a healthy soup. You can add frozen fruits to oatmeal, and you can also simply bake the frozen vegetables for a quicker option. And I'll include all of these recipes in your resource folder as you leave today. Okay, that is the end of our tour. Does anyone have any questions? Like I mentioned throughout the tour, I'll have some recipes in your resource folder. I'm also going to include a shopping list that includes all the WIC approved foods to help you plan and stick to a healthy diet. I really want to thank you all so much for coming along with me on this virtual grocery store tour. And if you have any questions I didn't answer today, I have the email on the screen. You can feel free to email me at amarkeen@emich.edu. Lastly, I'd like to go around and have everyone share one thing they learned from today. And maybe even share something that you will incorporate into your daily routine now after going through this tour. Then I'm going to pass around a knowledge assessment post-test and an evaluation form. These really help me make any necessary changes to any future grocery stores if I need to take out or add any information. Any feedback you have is greatly appreciated. Thank you again, and I hope to see you again soon.